The Sunday program was festive. More guests were coming than ever before in any of Prabhupada's other temples. The devotees so enthusiastically invited new people that gradually the feast attendance rose to 200. Leaving his little room, Prabhupada would enter the temple hall where he would lead the singing, accompanied by the devotees and guests. On one such occasion, during the kirtan, Prabhupada began to dance in a large circle around the room, moving slowly, majestically, his arms raised, inducing everyone to join. As he walked and danced, the devotees and guests lined up and followed behind him. He stopped in front of each picture on the wall and danced with his side-to-side step, his arms upraised, robes swaying. Then he continued circumambulating the room. Among the guests that Sunday sat two old ladies in wooden chairs in the back of the room. When Prabhupada came before them, they were smiling and nodding, enjoying the show. But Prabhupada looked at them, raised his hands in the air, and called, stand up and dance. And they arose, started dancing, and following him all around the room. And, you can imagine two little old ladies just sitting there enjoying it and looking at everything, and then everybody's going around the room, and Prabhupada comes to them and says, stand up and dance. And they, of course, people like to dance when they were young girls. I'm sure they went to dances and loved to dance, but they probably hadn't danced in a long time. But Prabhupada got them into it. I'm just going to shut this door. This was as with Satrup Maharaj yesterday, and they at the lunch table after lunch, one devotee was reading some letters from Prabhupada to Satrup Maharaj from 1971. And when Satrup Maharaj was still here in Boston as the temple president, but he was in transition, going away to his zone. He got a GBC zone in Texas and that area of the country. So he was in the process of going down there. But he was still getting letters from Prabhupada up here in Boston. And it was, really every item was really nice. And one of the items was that Prabhupada said, in regard to the Mayavadi sannyasi, there was a Mayavadi sannyasi living with them in the old Boston temple. And I forget exactly what Prabhupada said, but the main point was, it's okay if he's there. He can't give class or anything, but it's okay. Don't worry about him. And but we were sort of the devotees. Satrup Maharaj remembered it, and he was there for a while, I guess. And but Prabhupada was like that. It's okay if he's there. Don't worry about it. And it was Satrup Maharaj said eventually they had to ask him to leave, tell him to leave because he was causing some trouble there. And one of the Satrup Maharaj's disciples asked him, where did the Mayavadi come from? And Satrup Maharaj just kind of laughed and said, it came from Mayavadi land. Anyway, just a little thing, just a little incident from back that time. After the kirtan, Prabhupada would sit and watch the devotees play, put on a play, Narada and the Hunter, or Prahlad Maharaj and Lord Nrsingadev, or he would watch Vishnu Jana's puppet show. Then he would join the devotees for the Sunday feast. This is Tamal Krishna speaking. Srila Prabhupada would eat with the devotees in the temple room at every feast. He would instruct us to first feed all the children. He said children should be fed first. Then we would all take. Later, after we would finish eating in front of him, he would instruct, give him more of this and more of that. I would always sit toward the front. Then he would distribute the Maha plate. This is Shilavati speaking. Devotees would line up along the steps and the walkway to Prabhupada's car. Prabhupada would come out and he would be smiling. All the devotees would bow down and then kneel as he came by, and he would put his hand on everyone's head as he went by. That's what Lord Nrsingadev did to Prahlad Maharaj. He put his hand on his head. And everyone was just waiting for Srila Prabhupada to touch their head. And if he would miss someone when he went by, then that person would run around and get at the end of the line somehow or other so that Srila Prabhupada would touch your head. I know he knew what was going on. He was just smiling. And sometimes he would just make a point to touch everyone's head as he went by. And sometimes he would only touch 2 or 3 people in the whole line. It was just a game that we all played. Then he would get into the car and everyone would just converge on the car. Then after he left, everyone had something to say. Like, did you see him do this? Did you hear him say this? Everyone was so happy about Srila Prabhupada. We would always talk about him. He was the center of our lives. The devotees were very Prabhupada conscious. Devotees are still, and devotees are very guru conscious of their own spiritual master, of course. But at that time, ISKCON was very young. It was only 2 years since 26 Second Avenue had started, and all the devotees had pretty easy access to Prabhupada, and it was very familial, and so they had very close, easy access to him. They would sit in a line. If Prabhupada didn't touch their head, then they would jump up and run to the end of the line, and Prabhupada was playing a game with them. So it was very nice. And they would talk about, did you see him do this? Did you hear him say that? And so that was very common in ISKCON early in the movement, that devotees would talk like that, not only where Prabhupada was, but in any of the temples. They would talk about what Prabhupada was doing and what he had said. They were getting the lectures regularly on the cassette tapes that were duplicated and sent out to all the temples. And so very Prabhupada conscious. It was the center of our lives. As a representative of the Los Angeles devotee community, Tamal Krishna visited Prabhupada daily. Prabhupada was especially interested in the Sankirtan party. The traveling chanting party Prabhupada had requested Tamal Krishna to form had been holding kirtans in the streets of San Francisco and Seattle. Upon their arrival in Los Angeles, Prabhupada asked them to stay as part of the new Los Angeles Center. Now, every day, more than 30 devotees were going downtown, distributing back to Godheads and chanting for 8 hours. Besides organizing the daily Sankirtan, Tamal Krishna also maintained relations with police and city authorities. It was a success. Los Angeles was leading ISKCON in this new Sankirtan practice, and repeatedly Prabhupada stressed this as the most important function of ISKCON. So, of course, going out on Harinam wasn't new, but this was new. The relative knew that devotees would go out, like a lot of devotees every day, and chant for like 8 hours and distribute back to Godheads. And they were very enthusiastic in inviting people back to the temple. And a lot of people used to come back to the temple with them from Harinam, or later for the Sunday feast or the evening program, kirtan. Is a very normal thing to get people coming back to the temple from the Harinam. And this was before the spread of book distribution, distributing Bhagavad Gitas and Bhagavatams and everything. So later, that took over as the most. Devotees never stopped doing Harinam, going out and chanting, but the emphasis in all the temples was on sending devotees out on book distribution. And generally, the ones who would go out on book distribution were the strongest, toughest devotees, men and women, who could, do the austerities of book distribution, and which is more difficult than going out on Harinam Sankirtan. So, gradually the book distribution took over more and more, and the emphasis on public going Harinam Sankirtan, it became less, but of course I never stopped doing it, but the emphasis became more on book distribution. Because Tamal Krishna was Prabhupada's man for organizing the and Tamal Krishna was very intelligent, of course. I know at least one time Prabhupada called him, he's my most intelligent devotee, or something like that. So he's very intelligent, and so from the very early days, he was, going out and meeting and establishing relationships with the police and the government, so they'd be okay with the devotees, because a lot of places devotees had trouble with the police, here in Boston and in many temples around the world. Tamal Krishna, he knew that you got to get on good terms with the government. Because Tamal Krishna was Prabhupada's man for organizing the devotees, Prabhupada carefully trained him in managing. Sometimes Prabhupada would show Tamal Krishna a letter he had received asking for his response. Tamal Krishna would suggest a reply, then Prabhupada would explain the particular answer this letter required. Prabhupada usually ate his lunch alone, but one day he invited Tamal Krishna to have lunch with him. When the prasadam was served, Tamal Krishna asked, "How should we eat, Prabhupada? Which things should we eat first?" In eating, Prabhupada replied, there is no hard and fast rule. But Tamal Krishna watched his spiritual master take prasadam, knowing there was an art to it. Whatever Prabhupada would eat, Tamal Krishna would also eat, bite by bite. Prabhupada encouraged him to eat to his full satisfaction. And so it's a very mostly people would say, people would be like, okay, here's the prasadam, let's eat. But Tamal Krishna was like, he wanted to learn everything from Prabhupada, including how to eat, how to do everything. It's something, again, from yesterday. I was with at the lunch table, and after lunch, there's for dessert, Satsarup Maharaj always has ice cream, and everybody has ice cream, so he always wants an ice cream cone instead of ice cream in a dish. Some people take ice cream in a bowl. He always wants an ice cream cone. So they give him a choice of the different flavors they have, and he picks them out. He picked out two. I'll have this flavor and that flavor, and I want this flavor on top. I think yesterday it was, I'll have vanilla and pistachio, and I want the pistachio on top. So it got to be, he's very particular about what he wants. They give him a choice, and he's very specific about what he wants. So when it got to my turn, I said, I'll have, usually up till then I was having ice cream in a bowl, but he always had it in a cone. So yesterday I said, I'll have a cone, and I'll have this flavor and pistachio on top. And Satsrup Maharaj liked it, that I was having the same thing that he had. He liked it. And so it's, it's just a little thing, but with your spiritual master, it's good to pay attention to little things and try to do things the same way he does. Just a little, it's a simple thing, a little thing, but he liked it. So I'll have this flavor and pistachio on top.
One of the devotee was writing in a memorial book of my Guru Maharaj.
Yeah.
He was mentioning that Guru Maharaj liked corn, because, and then Guru Maharaj was mentioning because Prabhupada liked it. So that's when devotee used to give him. Guru Maharaj used to have because he said Prabhupada liked this corn, like we had yesterday.
Yeah. Little kids are like that with their parents. If their father or mother like something, that a lot of time they imitate them, and they say, so it's good. We are little children in Krishna consciousness, and of course, devotee always feels like that, and even if he's very advanced, pure devotee, he always feels like a little son or daughter in presence of a spiritual master. So it's nice. We're joining Krishna's family. We're not joining as senior people. We're joining as children, as little kids or babies. Let's see. After eating and washing, Prabhupada said, "Now let us talk a little." The printers in Japan, he explained, had agreed to take a contract for printing Back to Godhead on the condition that ISKCON order a minimum of 20,000 magazines a month. They are first-class printers, Prabhupada said. So you just give me a guarantee. I want you to take 5,000 magazines a month for Los Angeles. How much is 30 into 5,000? Anybody? What? What? I'm, I'm not that quick myself. 33, 35, 100, it's like 150 copies a day. They had, and up until then, they were distributing back to Godheads every day, but probably not 150 a day. And they were probably maybe doing, I don't know, maybe 2,000 back to Godheads a month or something like that. But Prabhupada said, if you give me a guarantee that this Los Angeles temple can distribute 5,000, I want you to give me your guarantee that you'll take 5,000 copies a month. If you do, then I will arrange for San Francisco, New York, and London to each take 5,000. You just give me this guarantee. So immediately Tamal Krishna promised Prabhupada to distribute 5,000 magazines a month. When he didn't go back to the temple and talk with the devotees and say, I don't know, do you think we can distribute 5,000 a month? He just said, yeah, we'll do 5,000 a month, he told Prabhupada, and he was confident. Tamal Krishna is a very confident, strong person. And he promised immediately on the spot to take 5,000 a month, which is probably a big increase in what they were doing. It was an important moment. Now, Prabhupada said, I can take the initiative to print such a big order. Otherwise, I could not do it. So he said, he told him, if you promise me, then I can talk to London and New York and Montreal, and I can say, look, Tamal Krishna said he can do it in Los Angeles, so can you do it too? And of course they would feel like, okay, well, I guess we have to do it too. So on another of Tamal Krishna's daily visits, he showed Prabhupada a painting just completed by Murlidhar, a new devotee. He's a very expert painter. The picture showed the spiritual sky and its spiritual planets with the material world in one corner. This is a very famous incident everyone knows. Prabhupada liked the painting. Referring to the painting, he explained to Tamal Krishna the plan of the total creation. Krishna, he began, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is situated in the topmost planet, Krishna Loka. Around Krishna Loka are innumerable spiritual planets, residences of the four-handed Narayan expansions of the Lord. The planets are all situated in the unlimited effulgence of the Brahman sky, which is actually the effulgence of Krishna's body. And in one tiny corner of this sky exists the entire material world. The material world emanates from Lord Krishna's expansion, Mahavishnu, who lives in the causal ocean, emanating innumerable material universes from his breathing and from the pores of his body. Within each universe, Mahavishnu then further expands as Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, who generates the planets within the universe. The Earth planet is situated among the middle planetary system, and in comparison to the entire universe, it is as insignificant as a speck of dust. And yet on this speck of dust, there are 7 continents. Prabhupada continued to explain, directing Tamal Krishna's attention to the painting. And out of all these different continents, Prabhupada said, there is America. And even within America, there are so many cities. And on one of those cities is Los Angeles. So here in Los Angeles also, there are many places. And then out of them, one of them is our temple. And in this temple, there is one Tamal Krishna. And he is thinking that he is a very, very important person. Tamal Krishna was startled. Prabhupada looked at him and simply smiled. We're insignificant. We say that all the time. We're insignificant. devotees, insignificant specks of dust, part and parcel of Krishna. We're tiny, we're so small. Infinitesimal is the word that Prabhupada uses for the Jiva soul. Krishna is infinite, and the Jiva souls are infinitesimal. Infinitesimal means like, I don't know what it means. I don't know what infinite means. It means really big. Infinitesimal means infinitely small, whatever that means. And so we're really, really small. But in the material world, you come to the material world. The reason we come to the material world is to be important person and to be God. Not only an important person, we come to the material world to be God or an important person. So, but we're not. And but the other aspect of that, there's always different aspects to every point in Krishna consciousness. And one aspect is that, of course, we're insignificant, we're tiny, we're unimportant. But the counterexample to that, the counterpoint to that, is that yes, we're small, but just like a king or will have a small baby, and to the king of a huge country, a tiny baby is insignificant in size and in importance. A baby can't do anything, can't do anything or even talk. But to the king, that baby is extremely important, is the most important person. So, so we are tiny, we are insignificant, we are infinitesimal, but each of Krishna's parts and parcels is very important to Krishna. So, uh, so both points are true. There's different aspects. But yeah, we're insignificant. But to Krishna, we're important. Each one of us is important. In Los Angeles, Govinda Dasi is to our spiritual master. A spiritual master may have thousands of disciples, may have a few disciples, but to the spiritual master, each one of his disciples, and each conditioned soul, but it is emphasizing on his disciples. Each disciple is important, very important to that guru. In Los Angeles, Govinda Dasi continued as Prabhupada's secretary, with Upendra, his servant, giving him massage and cooking for him. Govinda Dasi's husband, Gaurasundar, had reluctantly left to open a center in Hawaii. He had been with Govinda Dasi, his wife, traveling everywhere with Prabhupada for a year. And he was very attached to his service, to being with Prabhupada, like his wife was. And but Prabhupada told him he wanted a center in Hawaii. There's a lot of hippies in Hawaii, and which was there's one story. I don't know if you know this story, but there's one story of one of the early women, young girls in Krishna consciousness. I forget her name, but she's on one of those Prabhupada Remember videos on YouTube, and it might be Koshalya, but I can't remember. And she was a hippie in Hawaii. She was 16 years old, and she was on the beach, just sitting on the beach and living life and doing whatever hippies do. And she was just sitting on the beach, and the wind blew a flyer across the beach to her, and it landed in her lap. And it was uh, lecture, I don't know, lecture by Swami A.C. Bhaktivedanta on Bhagavad Dharma tonight at this location in this at this particular time. This fell in her lap, and she went to the program that night, and she became very impressed or enthusiastic about Krishna consciousness right away, and she met all the devotees. But she was very young, 16 years old. But a year later, she was in Seattle or San Francisco or something, and she met the devotees again there. She was about 17 then, and she met the devotees, and then she went to the temple again. I forget all the specifics of it, but Krishna knows how to arrange everything very specifically. She went to the temple again, and she moved in the temple. And she joined the temple, one of the very nice, great early devotees. So yeah, so Prabhupada wanted a temple in Hawaii. He wanted temples everywhere, but he specifically sent Gaurasundar to Hawaii. Now Prabhupada was suggesting, he then prodded Gaurasundar day after day until finally he agreed to go there and preach. And Prabhupada, every day he would tell Gaurasundar, come on, I want you to go to Hawaii and preach. And he didn't want to go. He didn't want to leave Prabhupada's service. You can understand. But Prabhupada kept after him every day, and then he went. Now Prabhupada was suggesting that Govinda Dasi join her husband. She preferred, however, to remain with Prabhupada as secretary. She had been with him for over a year, but Prabhupada insisted that she go. From New York, Purushottama had written asking to come and serve Prabhupada, and Prabhupada had consented. When Prabhupada had written a letter asking Purushottama to come, he had given it to Tamal Krishna, saying, you'd better mail this. Don't give it to Govinda Dasi. She may refuse to mail it. Govinda Dasi wanted to stay, but Prabhupada ordered her, you must live with your husband. That will make you happy. You will never be happy staying aloof from one another. You must go there. So after weeks of procrastinating, Govinda Dasi reluctantly left her cherished service and went to join her husband. Okay, well, I'm going to stop there for today. Anyone questions or comments on anything? Okay, all glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Vishnu Pada Krishna Prishta Guru Ishmati Satrudas Goswami Tirumani Shri Krishna Prishta Guru Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namaste. What?